I'm Allison Brooks, 26, a fashion designer carving my path in Miami. At a weekend family dinner at my parents' house, my mother points at me. "You're a leech." The table erupts in laughter. My father's gruff nod, my sister's smug grin, and my brother's mocking chuckle hit like daggers. They've always scorned my fashion dreams, calling them a waste of time. I grip my fork, their words searing, but I stay quiet. I set my phone down its screen, lighting up with something big, something they'd never believe. My mother presses on, her voice sharp. "When will you stop dragging us down?" The air chokes with their disdain. I whisper, "I understand," stand, and walk out, their laughter echoing behind. I'm not crushed. I'm fueled. They'll see what I'm capable of soon enough. Want to see how I silenced their doubts? Smash subscribe and stick with my story to the end. Growing up in Miami, I was always the shadow in the Brooks family. My mother Diane and my father Kenneth had their eyes fixed on my sister Megan and my brother Ryan. Megan, 7 years older, was their golden child, acing every test and destined for law school. Ryan, 4 years my senior, charmed everyone with his knack for deals, already plotting his business empire by 16. Me, I was the odd one out sketching dresses in my notebook, while they praised Megan's debate trophies or Ryan's lemonade stand profits. My parents never saw my drawings as anything but a childish distraction. When I was 10, I showed Diane a sketch of a flowing gown inspired by a sunset. She barely glanced at it before saying, "Stop wasting paper on nonsense." Kenneth agreed, muttering about practical skills. Megan smirked, flipping her hair, and said, "You'll never make money doodling." Ryan laughed, tossing a basketball, and added, "Get a real hobby." Their words stung, but I kept sketching in secret, hiding my work under my bed. By 13, I was sneaking fashion magazines into my room, studying designers like Versace and McQueen, dreaming of runways while my family celebrated Megan's college acceptance. High school was worse. At 15, I joined the art club, hoping for a place to shine. I spent weeks on a dress for the school talent show, stitching late into the night. When I wore it, the crowd cheered, but Diane's face was stone cold. After she pulled me aside, "You embarrassed us with that silly costume." Kenneth nodded, saying I should focus on serious subjects like math. Megan, home from college, rolled her eyes. "It's just a phase." Ryan, now running his own startup, scoffed. "Nobody pays for that stuff." I stood there, clutching my dress, feeling like an outsider in my own home. The constant comparisons crushed me. At family gatherings, Diane bragged about Megan's law internships or Ryan's business pitches, while I was ignored or pitied. Once, at a cousin's wedding, I overheard Kenneth tell a relative, "Allison's just creative. She'll grow out of it." Megan whispered to a friend, "She's wasting her time." Ryan handed me a plate, joking, "Maybe you can design napkins for a living." Their laughter echoed, carving a hollow space inside me. I stopped sharing my dreams, locking them away where their words couldn't reach. But those moments fueled me too. At 16, I entered a local design contest, pouring my heart into a jacket inspired by Miami's vibrant streets. I didn't tell my family, knowing they'd mock me. When I won first place, the $500 prize felt like a lifeline. The judge, a local boutique owner, praised my vision, saying I had real talent. For the first time, someone saw me. I hid the trophy in my closet, but that win planted a seed. I swore I'd prove them wrong, not just to them, but to myself. By 18, I was accepted into a fashion program at a Miami college. Diane called it a waste of money. Kenneth refused to help with tuition, saying law or business, that's what matters. Megan, now a lawyer, smirked, "You'll be broke forever." Ryan, flush with his startup success, offered to loan me money, but his tone dripped with pity. I worked 2 jobs, waitressing and retail, to pay my way, staying up late to sketch and sew. Every rejection from them pushed me harder. I wasn't just fighting for a career, I was fighting for my worth. Those years of being dismissed shaped me. I learned to rely on myself, to trust my instincts over their doubts. While Megan argued cases and Ryan closed deals, I built my portfolio piece by piece in the quiet of my dorm room. My family's voices still echoed in my head, calling my passion pointless, but I refused to let them define me. I was determined to turn my sketches into something undeniable, something they couldn't ignore. Years later, sitting in my apartment, I still carried those scars. But they didn't break me, they forged me. Back in my apartment, I sat at my sewing table, eyes fixed on sketches. My hands moved fast, pinning fabric stitching seams, racing against deadlines for a Nordstrom collection. Ellen Hayes, my mentor, had been emailing me nonstop, her messages, cryptic but urgent. This project could change everything. Stay focused. I wanted to believe her, but doubt gnawed at me. My mother's words, "Fashion is meaningless," echoed from years ago, a shadow I couldn't shake. Every stitch felt like a battle against that voice, against the fear I might fail. I checked my laptop. Another email from Ellen popped up. Double-check the color palette. This is big. No details, just pressure. I adjusted a navy gown's hem, my mind spinning. Was this project really worth it? My mother's disdain, calling my work pointless, clung to me like damp fabric. I pushed through, sketching bolder lines, but her voice lingered, making every decision feel heavier. I wondered if Megan, now a lawyer, or Ryan, thriving in business, ever doubted themselves like this. Probably not. They had our parents' approval, something I'd never known. The doorbell buzzed, snapping me out of my thoughts. Natalie Foster, my closest friend, stood at the door, her smile warm. "You look stressed," she said, dropping onto my couch. I sighed, admitting how my family's words haunted me. Natalie leaned forward, her eyes steady. "You know I wasn't always a photographer," she said. "I used to be a paralegal, stuck in a cubicle, miserable. My dad called my camera hobby cute, but useless. I quit anyway, took a risk, and shot my first gallery show. It sold out. That's when I knew I had to trust myself, not their doubts." Her story hit me hard. I showed her my latest design, a sleek jacket with gold accents. "This is you," Natalie said, tracing the stitching. "This is what they don't see." Her words sparked something in me, a flicker of confidence. I told her about the Miami Fashion Expo, how I'd been chosen to showcase my work. "You're ready," she said. "Don't let their voices hold you back." I nodded, feeling lighter, but my mother's words still tugged at me like a thread caught in a seam. Late that night, I reworked a dress, adding daring cutouts. Ellen's email had hinted at high stakes, and I couldn't afford to play it safe. My phone buzzed with another message from her. "The client loves your vision. Keep pushing." I stared at the screen, heart racing. What was this project? A major retailer, a celebrity line. The secrecy thrilled and terrified me. I imagined my designs on a runway, proving everyone wrong, but doubt crept in again. What if I wasn't good enough? What if my mother was right? Natalie's story stayed with me. She'd faced her own skeptics and won. I pinned a new sketch to my board, a bold red gown, and started cutting fabric. Each snip felt like defiance, a way to silence the voices in my head. I worked until dawn, fueled by Natalie's belief and Ellen's vague promises. The Fashion Expo was weeks away, and I had to be ready. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew I couldn't stop now. My mother's voice still lingered, but I pushed it aside. I had a collection to finish, and no one, not even her, could take that from me. A month later, at a weekend family dinner, my mother pointed straight at my face. "You're a leech," she hissed, her voice slicing through the clatter of plates. My father, Kenneth, let out a gruff chuckle, barely looking up. My sister, Megan, smirked, her eyes glinting with smugness, while my brother Ryan laughed loudly, leaning back in his chair. Their mockery hit like a wave, tightening my throat. They'd always dismissed my fashion career, treating it as a foolish fantasy that would never amount to anything. I clutched the table's edge, my fingers digging in. Diane, my mother, leaned forward, her stare icy. "How long will you keep pretending this is a real job?" she demanded, her tone thick with contempt. Megan chimed in, her voice sharp. Some of us have actual careers. Ryan grinned, tossing a spoon in his hand. What's your plan? Stitching tablecloths for a living. Their laughter swelled each word a fresh wound. I wanted to shout back to make them see, but I held my tongue. I had something they couldn't ignore. My phone vibrated, a quiet hum against the noise. I pulled it out, glancing at the screen. An email from Ellen Hayes shone brightly. Congratulations, you've signed a $4,600,000 contract with Nordstrom. My pulse raced. This was my moment, my proof. I placed the phone face up on the table, the email's words glowing in defiance of their scorn. Diane glanced at it but didn't stop. You're a burden to this family, she pressed on, unaware. Kenneth muttered, get a job that matters. Megan scoffed. Still chasing fairy tales, Ryan added. Maybe you'll knit scarves for pennies. I took a deep breath, my resolve steeling. Their words didn't break me anymore. They ignited me. I met Diane's gaze, my voice low but firm. I understand. I said, the phrase loaded with meaning they couldn't grasp. I pushed my chair back, its scrape cutting through their laughter. Their voices quieted as I stood, my eyes flicking to the phone's screen. I didn't need to explain. The truth sat there, undeniable, even if they refused to see it. I turned and walked away, their taunts fading into the distance. Stepping outside, the cool air steadied me. Diane's words, "You're a leech," rang in my mind, but they only sharpened my focus. I'd spent too long letting their doubts weigh me down. No more. That email was my victory, a contract with Nordstrom that validated every late night, every stitch. The Miami Fashion Expo was weeks away, and my collection was nearly complete. They could mock me all they wanted, they'd soon face the truth. I reached my car, my steps steady. The contract wasn't just a number, it was my worth, my defiance. Nordstrom, a retail titan, saw what my family couldn't. Ellen had guided me to this point, and I'd delivered. I pictured my designs in stores, on runways, in magazines. Diane's accusations, Megan's smirks, Ryan's jibes. They were irrelevant now. I wasn't a leech. I was a force, and I was done letting their words define me. As I drove off, my phone pinged again. Another message from Ellen. The client's buzzing. Prep for the expo. I gripped the wheel, a fire burning inside me. The Fashion Expo was my stage, my chance to show the world what I was made of. My family thought they knew me, thought their words could bury my dreams. They were mistaken. 2 weeks later, I stood backstage at the Miami Fashion Expo. My hands trembled as I adjusted a crimson gown on a mannequin, its silk catching the dim light. Cheryl Grant, the event coordinator, barked orders nearby, her clipboard a constant flurry. Allison, your slot's in 2 hours. Models are ready. Don't mess this up, she said, her tone sharp but trusting. I nodded, my stomach twisting. This was my moment, the stage where my designs would speak for me. But my family's words still clawed at my mind, their scorn, a weight I couldn't fully shake. I checked my sketches, each line a piece of my soul. Cheryl paused beside me, her eyes scanning my work. These are bold, she said, tapping a sketch of a tailored jacket. You've got something special here? Her words steadied me, but the pain from my family lingered. My mother's accusations, their laughter burned in my chest. I'd decided not to invite them. Why should I? They'd never believed in me, never seen my work as anything but a waste. This expo was mine, not theirs. Natalie slipped backstage, her camera slung around her neck. You're killing it, she said, her grin wide. I forced a smile, but my nerves betrayed me. I keep hearing them. I admitted, my voice low. My mother, my sister, my brother, they think I'm nothing. Natalie's face softened. Forget them, she said. I once let my dad's doubt stop me from submitting to a gallery. I regretted it for years. Your designs? They're your truth. Show the world who you are. Her words hit deep, reigniting my focus. I hugged her, grateful for her unwavering belief. Cheryl called me over to review the runway order. Your collection's closing the show, she said, her voice firm. Big responsibility. Don't let nerves get in the way. I swallowed hard, adjusting a model's emerald dress. The fabric felt alive under my fingers, each stitch a defiance of my family's doubts. I thought of the Nordstrom contract, a secret I hadn't shared with anyone but Natalie. It was my fuel, but the expo was my battleground. I didn't need my family's approval, I needed to prove my worth to myself. As models rehearsed, I caught myself replaying their words. My mother's voice. Fashion is meaningless. My sister's smirk. Some of us have actual careers. My brother's jab-stitching tablecloths for a living. Each memory stung, but I channeled it into my work. I tweaked a sleeve, tightened a seam, my hands steady despite the ache. Cheryl watched, nodding. You're focused. Good. Stay that way. Her approval meant more than she knew, a stark contrast to my family's disdain. Natalie snapped photos of the chaos, her lens catching my intensity. You're not just a designer, she said, lowering her camera. You're a fighter. They don't know what's coming. I laughed, a spark of confidence breaking through. She was right. My family had no idea. They didn't know about the contract, the expo, or the fire driving me. I hadn't invited them, and I didn't care if they found out later. This moment was for me, for the years I'd fought alone. Backstage grew louder, the crowd's hum seeping through. Cheryl handed me a revised schedule. Your pieces are the finale. Make it count. She said, her eyes meeting mine. I felt the weight of her trust, the pressure of the moment. My collection, 10 pieces each, a story of resilience, was ready. A black gown with gold threading a jacket with sharp angles, a dress that flowed like water. They were mine, and they were enough. I didn't need my family here to validate me. Their absence was my freedom. As the show neared, Natalie pulled me aside. You've got this, she said, her voice steady. This is your stage, not theirs. I nodded, her words anchoring me. My family's doubts were just noise now fading against the hum of the expo. I hadn't told them about the show, and I wouldn't. Let them find out when my name hit the headlines. Let them see what I'd built without them. The first model stepped onto the runway, and my heart raced. This was it, my chance to shine, to silence the doubts for good. Back at home, my mother quietly flipped open Vogue, her eyes locking onto my name. The headline blared, Allison Brooks inks $4,600,000 deal with Nordstrom. Diane's fingers trembled, the magazine nearly slipping. She read aloud, her voice, unsteady, rising designer, Miami Fashion Expo, revolutionary collection. She sat still, her past dismissals crashing over her. She'd called my work meaningless, a burden. Now my name in Vogue mocked her certainty, undeniable proof of what she'd refused to see. She snatched her phone, calling my father, Kenneth. Read this now, she demanded, her tone sharp with shock. She texted Megan and Ryan, forwarding the article. Allison's in Vogue. We're heading to the expo. They piled into the car, racing toward the Miami Fashion Expo. Diane gripped the magazine, her mind reeling. Kenneth grumbled. She kept this from us. Megan, usually quick with a jab, stayed quiet, her face tight. Ryan stared ahead, his usual smirk gone, replaced by unease. At the expo, I stood backstage, my pulse racing as my collection hit the runway. The crowd cheered as my first model stepped out, my black gown with gold threading catching every light. Cheryl Grant shot me a quick nod, her expression radiating confidence. You're nailing this, she whispered. Natalie clicked away with her camera, capturing every moment. My focus stayed on my pieces, the tailored jacket, the emerald dress, the crimson finale. Each one was a piece of me, a defiance of every doubt I'd faced. Then I spotted them. My mother, father, sister, and brother wove through the audience, their faces etched with disbelief. Diane clutched the crumpled Vogue, her eyes wide. Kenneth stood stiff, his usual authority absent. Megan's smugness had vanished, her lips pressed thin. Ryan shifted restlessly, hands in his pockets. They hadn't been invited, but my success had dragged them here. I felt a surge of strength, not vengeance, but certainty. This was my stage, and they were just spectators now. The final model glided out, my crimson gown flowing like fire. The crowd leaped to their feet, applause thundering. Cheryl tugged my arm. "Your beau, Allison," she said, pushing me forward. I stepped onto the runway, the lights intense, the cheers overwhelming. My eyes found Diane's, her face pale, her gaze unsteady. The weight of her words, her years of scorn flickered in my mind. But I stood taller, unshaken, my collection, speaking louder than her doubts ever could. After the show, I approached them, the crowd parting around me. Diane stepped forward, her voice shaky. "Allison, we had no idea," she began, but I raised a hand, stopping her. I asked, "Now? Who's calling me a leech?" My voice was steady, cutting through the murmurs around us. The crowd stilled, heads turning. Diane froze, her face flushing red. Kenneth looked down, his shoulders sagging. Megan's eyes dropped to the floor, her confidence crumbling. Ryan swallowed hard, his usual quips silenced. "You said I was nothing." I continued, my tone even but firm. "You called my work a waste, a burden. Look at this." I gestured to the runway, the cheering audience, the flashing lights. "I built this alone." The silence was heavy, their shame visible to everyone. Reporters nearby jotted down notes, their pens moving fast. Diane tried again. "We're so proud." But her words rang empty, forced. I shook my head. "You don't get to share this now." Natalie stood by my side, her presence solid. "They don't deserve you," she murmured, her voice fierce. Cheryl approached, clapping my shoulder. "Buyers are going wild," she said, unaware of the drama. I turned from my family, their embarrassment hanging in the air. They'd come to claim a piece of my victory, but they left exposed, their doubts laid bare before the world. I didn't feel joy, only resolve. Their words had no power over me anymore. As I walked back toward the runway, the crowd's cheers followed me. My family faded into the noise, their presence insignificant. I'd proven my worth not just to them, but to myself. 1 week later, my mother called me for the 10th time, her voice dripping with desperation. "Allison, please, let's talk," she pleaded, her words muffled by static. I stared at my phone, the screen flashing her name, Diane. I let it go to voicemail, just like the 9 calls before. My father, Kenneth, had texted apologies, his messages stiff but earnest. "We were wrong. Call me." I didn't respond. Megan's texts were curt, laced with guilt. "Can we meet?" Ryan's were casual, almost flippant. "Hey, sorry about the expo thing." I deleted them all. Their words felt like too little, too late. My phone buzzed again, this time with notifications from social media. Diane had posted on X, her words sharp. "My daughter thinks she's too good for us now. Success has made her arrogant." Megan followed her post, nastier. "Allison's acting like she's above everyone. Guess fame changes people." My stomach tightened, not from hurt, but from anger. They couldn't face their shame, so they twisted the narrative, painting me as the villain. I scrolled through the comments, expecting agreement. Instead, the internet turned on them. "Allison Brooks earned her success," one user wrote. "You called her a leech. Now you're jealous." Another posted, "Shame on you for dragging her online." Hundreds of replies piled up, some from fashion fans, others from strangers who'd seen my expo triumph. "She's a visionary," one comment read. "Her family's just bitter." The backlash was swift, relentless. Diane's post racked up thousands of critical responses, her attempt to shame me backfiring spectacularly. Megan's fared worse, her account flooded with accusations of envy. I didn't smile, but I felt a quiet satisfaction. The world saw through their lies. Natalie called me that evening, her voice bright. "Have you seen X? Your family's getting roasted," she said. I sighed, leaning back in my chair. "They're trying to rewrite the story," I said. "Calling me arrogant because I won't forgive them." Natalie's tone sharpened. They don't get to play victims. You stood up to them at the expo. Keep standing. Her words grounded me, reminding me why I'd walked away. I wasn't the one who needed to apologize. The next day, Ryan tried a different tactic. He'd reached out to mutual friends, spinning a tale of me cutting off the family. One friend, Sarah, messaged me, her tone hesitant. Ryan says you're shutting them out. Is that true? I clenched my jaw, typing back. They mocked my dreams for years. I owe them nothing. Sarah didn't push further, but others did. Another friend, Mark, called, his voice cautious. Ryan's saying you've changed, that you're cold now. I laughed, sharp and bitter. Cold. They called my work worthless. Tell Ryan to save his sob story. I sat back, staring at my phone. Ryan's manipulation stung, but it didn't sway me. He'd always been the loudest, tossing jabs like they were harmless. Now he was scrambling, using friends to pressure me. I blocked his number along with Diane's, Kenneth's, and Megan's. Their apologies, their posts, their schemes. They were all noise. I'd built my career without them, and I'd keep going without them. The Nordstrom contract, the Expo's success, the buzz around my name, it was all mine, earned through years of grit. Natalie stopped by my studio later, her camera bag slung over her shoulder. You okay? She asked, eyeing the notifications piling up on my phone. I nodded, my resolve firm. They're lashing out because they can't handle the truth, I said. I'm done letting them define me. She grinned, setting her bag down. Good. The internet's on your side, and so am I. Keep shining. Her support was a lifeline, a reminder that I wasn't alone, even if my family was out of the picture. By the weekend, the online storm had grown. Fashion blogs picked up the story, framing me as the underdog who'd triumphed over doubt. Allison Brooks, from family scorn to fashion. Glory One headline read. The posts from Diane and Megan were screenshotted, shared, dissected. Commenters tore into their hypocrisy, quoting my expo moment. Now, who's calling me a leech? I didn't add fuel to the fire I didn't need to. The truth was out, and it spoke for itself. Ryan made one last attempt, getting another friend, Lisa, to call. He's saying you're breaking the family apart, she said, her voice soft. I took a deep breath, my voice steady. They broke it when they mocked me. I'm just living my truth. Lisa paused, then said, I get it. I'm proud of you. Her words, simple but sincere, hit harder than any apology from my family. I thanked her and hung up, my focus clear. I turned back to my sketches, new designs taking shape. My family's words, their posts, their pressure, they couldn't touch me now. I'd built something real, something lasting. 6 months later, I stood on a stage accepting a major fashion award. The weight of the crystal trophy felt solid in my hands, its gleam a testament to my journey. The audience cheered, their applause a wave that carried me beyond the doubts of my past. I scanned the crowd, spotting Natalie's grin, her camera flashing as she captured the moment. My family, Diane, Kenneth, Megan, Ryan, was nowhere in sight. I'd cut them out. Their numbers blocked, their voices silenced. This victory was mine, not theirs. I'd moved into a new apartment in Miami, a space that felt like a fresh start. My days were filled with sketches, meetings, and new collections, each design a step further from the weight of my family's scorn. Natalie had become my anchor, her laughter and honesty filling the gaps my family left behind. You're unstoppable, she told me one evening, sipping coffee as we reviewed my latest sketches. I smiled, her words fueling my drive. My career was soaring, and I was building a life on my terms. The award ceremony was a pinnacle. The presenter had called my name, praising my innovative vision and resilient spirit. As I stepped to the podium, I thought of the years I'd fought for this, every late night, every rejected sketch, every harsh word from my mother, father, sister, and brother. Their doubts had once cut deep, but now they were distant, irrelevant. I spoke briefly, my voice steady. This is for anyone who's been told their dreams don't matter. Believe in your passion. It's your truth. The crowd roared, and I felt a surge of clarity. I wasn't just a designer, I was proof that you could rise above. Natalie met me backstage, her eyes bright. "That speech perfect," she said, hugging me tightly. "You showed them what you're made of." I laughed, the weight of the trophy grounding me. "I showed myself," I replied. She nodded, understanding. My family's absence didn't sting, it freed me. I'd chosen to walk away to protect my peace. Their words, their apologies, their attempts to pull me back. They couldn't touch me now. I'd heard whispers about my family through old acquaintances. Diane was quieter now, her confidence shaken. Kenneth kept to himself, his lectures silenced. Megan's sharp tongue had dulled her social media silent after the backlash. Ryan, once so quick to mock, avoided mentioning me. They lived with their regret, their chance to be part of my life gone. I didn't gloat, didn't dwell. Their remorse was their burden, not mine. I'd moved forward, leaving them behind. My new collection was already making waves, with buyers clamoring for previews. The Nordstrom deal had opened doors, but this award cemented my place in the industry. I worked late into the night, sketching bold lines, weaving my story into every piece. Natalie often joined me, her feedback sharp and honest. "This one's a game changer," she said, pointing to a sleek gown with silver accents. I trusted her eye, her belief in me unwavering. She'd been there through every step, a friend who saw my worth when my family couldn't. The lesson was clear. Your passion defines you, not the doubts of others. I'd spent years chasing approval, bending under my family's judgment. But their words, harsh, dismissive, were just noise. I'd learned to trust my vision, to build a life that reflected my truth. The award, the applause, the new apartment, they were markers of my strength, not their validation. I didn't need them to see me. I saw myself. As I left the ceremony, Natalie at my side, I felt lighter than ever. The industry buzzed with my name, but I was focused on what came next. New designs, new goals, new heights. My family's regret was a distant echo, their absence a choice I'd made for my own peace. I'd built this life stitch by stitch, and it was enough.